to Thoughtful Thursday. My name is Reverend, and as always, I am truly grateful for you to be here today. And today is one of the best days to be here because you get to release the day. I know it's only Thursday, but it'll help you through the week to just sit in contemplation and listen to my voice and the music and just allow the last of our 5 principles to kind of enter into your consciousness and the stories and the affirmations and our affirmative prayer, and just give you something to either go to bed at night with, or maybe after dinner and you just want to relax a bit, or maybe just before you start your evening you want to let go of your job. This is that time to do so. So as always, before we get started, go ahead and subscribe, like, make sure that bell is highlighted so that you know when we drop another video. And we are working toward getting everything up and moving as it was before, but I didn't want to leave you without the last of the 5 principles. So let us begin. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and close your eyes and begin to just breathe in. And with every breath, start to capture any thoughts or feelings of the day. And as you exhale, go ahead and allow it to just flow right out. Let's take another deep breath in, releasing any thoughts of yesterday, releasing the past. On your next inhalation, begin to collect all those anxieties of tomorrow and what's to bring, and just releasing your breath. And on this third breath, let's go ahead and just breathe deeply and center into this moment, releasing the outer world, entering that chamber known as the Christ consciousness, the seat of the soul, the Buddha nature, the Krishna consciousness, whatever it is to you, is that divine center within all of us that allows us to retreat from the outer world and be divinely inspired by that which is within ourselves. So let us allow the 5th principle to kind of sink into our consciousness. And principle number 5 is knowing and understanding the law of life, also called truth, are not enough. A person must also live the truth that he or she knows. And our first story comes from Reverend David Adams, and it's called Choosing Our Truth. And it's not enough to understand spiritual teachings. We must live the truth we know. What I find most compelling in this statement is that we are always living into something we perceive as true. We are either expressing from a paradigm of love, embodying our innate oneness with all living beings to the best of our ability, or living from a mindset of fear, lack, loss, and separation, allowing outer conditions to hold away over our lives. And we know that what we call into expression will stem from that paradigm. There are times when making the choice is simple, when choosing between hitting the gym or grabbing drive-through fast food. Knowing that the more loving choice seems clear. When choosing between patience or annoyance in traffic, it may take some spiritual acumen to select a loving choice over a hardship or a harsher reaction. But how do we live from love, the foundation of spiritual truth, in situations that challenge us to our very core? When circumstances appear so contrary to all we know that we are left only with questions. Over the past year, my mother, now in her 90s, has begun to experience cognitive impairment. At first, it meant hearing the same story every time I called. As it progressed, stories of our shared life experiences surfaced less. Memories of her life full of travel and excitement with my stepfather seemed to have evaporated. The mother I knew growing up, a quiet, comforting, stubbornly resilient person, seems lost in a sea of conflicted and fabricated memories that are both nonsensical and amazingly detailed. How am I to live my truth when her current truth argues against everything I remember? As with all spiritual endeavors, doing so begins within. I take time to explore which truth I'm expressing when we are together in person or virtually. I am choosing to see her through the clouded lens of comparison, seeing who she is now as some fraction of who she was. Am I holding a perceived truth that the mother I knew is no longer present? If so, is this a truth I wish to manifest? Or might I choose to see her as a divine expression of God in that and every moment? Might I look for other ways she is still present, even if only the soothing sound of her voice? If I choose these last questions as guides toward my truth, how would our interaction and our whole relationship benefit? As truth becomes established, the clouded lens begins to lift. I see the person who provided comfort over the years now in need of the same care. I see her innate perfection and innocence when I am tempted toward frustration. I have learned to meet conditions that sometimes seem so unfair with a sense of grace. Most important, this truth allows me to fully enjoy the moment we have together, however many might remain. We're always living into something we perceive as true. At times, making choices that express truth are the simplest, most obvious ones. We choose love as our primary way of being and bring that choice to life in whatever way we are guided. At other times, relationships or conditions may invite or even force us to question what we are holding as true at the moment. However simple or complex the circumstances appear, some questions may be, what is the most loving choice here? What do I say I am at this moment? Who do I deserve to be? Beginning with my next thought, word, or action. Your answers will determine whether you continue to wrestle with conditions or step fully into your paradigm of love and truly live the truth you know. And let us affirm together, in all circumstances, I am willing to embrace and embody the most loving choice, declaring it to be my truth. In all circumstances, I willingly embrace and embody the most loving choice, declaring it to be my truth. And let us pray together that love is the foundation of my truth. In every moment I choose to see or seek the presence of love. Should circumstances arise that question or challenge this truth, may I draw more deeply on love's infinite inner wellspring. May my every thought, word, and action radiate the love I desire to see in the world. This I declare in the name and the nature of the living Christ presence within. How I live the truth I know. I was familiar with unity in two ways before I learned about the universal spiritual principle it teaches. Ideas reflected in many of world's religions. And this story is by Reverend Shepard. First, a friend introduced me to Daily Word, which had been a source of comfort for her. The second way was by attending a yoga class that met at a nearby Unity Center. I would occasionally pick up some of the church's free literature and as a result learned about Unity before becoming involved. I finally tried Unity at a time in my life when I was making a significant transition after deciding to end my marriage. The decision meant moving from one place to another. Complicating this was the fact that I had never lived entirely on my own, and I had gone from the safety of my home into a marriage that didn't work. One new acquaintance invited me to a church with her at a Unity Center. I agreed, since I already somewhat familiar with Unity and I like it so much I continued to go. Participating in classes, reading Unity publications, and enrolling in course for credit, I was like a sponge eagerly soaking up the teachings. These teachings gave me the courage and the tools to learn how to forgive and rebuild my life. I learned about the nature of God and that God is in me. I learned about the importance of positive thought, prayer, and meditation and their role in establishing an optimal mindset of growth. Still, I had no idea how much I would need to know and practice these spiritual truths over the years. I've come to know and believe in the power of prayer most of all. As I deepened my studies, I became a prayer practitioner, a licensed Unity teacher, and eventually an ordained Unity minister. prayer is the primary way I live the truth and put spiritual principles into practice. Prayer has strengthened and sustained me through many challenges, including the divorce and the loss of my beloved father, even as those events served as fuel for transformation. Prayer has been a constant companion and a measure of first resort. When I experienced the loss of relatives, friends, and former colleagues due to the pandemic, I relied on prayer and its companion meditation for guidance. I prayed through the illness and the death of my mother. I prayed when I lost my beloved yoga teacher for many years and a dear friend. I was honored to officiate at the funeral and graveside services of my aunts and uncles, and most significant, my father's cousin, for whom I served as a primary caregiver for 10 years. Just when I thought I could breathe a little easier, my husband suffered a heart attack and had to go to have an emergency triple bypass surgery. I paused to remember and give thanks to the young man in the emergency room who, waiting to hear about his loved one, immediately offered prayer aloud when the nurse told me the news about my husband. Once my husband was home, I fell back on my belief in prayer, and by calling the Unity Prayer Ministry and enlisting various prayer groups, I contacted what I call my prayer folks. I have relied upon prayer to sustain and strengthen me through times both grave and joyful. I know prayer will continue to sustain and strengthen me on my journey. And we affirm together, I seek to live the truth I know in thoughts, words, and deeds. Again, I speak to live the truth I know in thought, word, and deed. We affirmatively pray together. Divine Mind assists me in living the truth I know. Grateful for my constant connection through prayer and meditation, I know that I am guided by the divine presence within me as I experience the joys and sorrows of life. My spiritual nature sustains me and gives me access to all the attributes of God. The love, wisdom, faith, and order that I need for this human journey. As I have prayed for others, they pray for me, and we are one in God. And a last story here is A Livable Truth by Reverend Cathy Beasley. I am a logical thinker. I understand that the roots of any situation are in the depths and the breadths of what is known to be true in our lives. For me, that means some area in my life would need to undergo a profound shift of great magnitude. My story begins with my professional walk in the world, where I solved organizational problems, where my title was problem solver. One autumn day, I came across the words often attributed to Albert Einstein. If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solutions. These words changed both me and my perspective by allowing me to shift the paradigm of my thoughts and ultimately the outcome in my work. I knew I would have to ground myself in the enduring power of principle to be successful. The truth I affirm today is that there is a divine solution to every difficulty and a spiritual answer for every question. I did not have to look for it, research it, or seek consultation. My work was and still is to wait for it. I know the question, and the answer is often in the same room, and more often than not, in the same body. When I chose to change my way of work, it overflowed into my life, my being, my ministry, and my relationships. Behold, I found myself becoming a new creation. Not necessarily what I had planned, but it worked. Living the truth that we know is a practice available to all of us according to our individual and collective levels of receptivity. It is not about reading a particular work or repeating a verse or affirmation. It is about becoming the space where the truth of our being shows itself proudly and promptly to the world. When we begin to know our truth, we begin to pour it out and live in the divine flow of our lives. This flow is never too warm, cold, deep, or turbulent. The flow is and has been alive within us. Living the truth you know is rooted in your willingness, awareness, engagement, and embodiment. Truth does not grow atop the highest mountain or to the depths of the deepest waters. It's always alive within each of us. My search for the livable truth that I know has led me to be the person and soul I am today. And today I am a solution consultant. I use my words, vibration, and energy to bring about necessary change in the world. For me, a part of my spiritual practice has been to reframe Einstein's quote in a way of love and living. Nowadays, suppose I have an hour to generate a solution. In this case, I spend 5 minutes understanding the issue at hand, 15 minutes listening to what is within and surround me, 20 minutes creating a list of viable solutions, and 10 minutes acknowledging my gratitude for the journey. This is how the truth I know about myself now comes to life. How does your truest truth become a way of life for you? Then we affirm together, I know divine ideas surrounding me now, and I live as a living, breathing demonstration of this truth. I know divine ideas surrounding me now, and I live as a living, breathing demonstration of this truth. And we affirm in prayer, I know that we are one. The essence of my being as I know and experience it is truth. It is resident in the activity of my body, my breath, and my being. When I rest in the comfort of this knowledge, I also know that all is well. I am grateful for this activity of the livable truth that unfolds in my every thought, word, and praise. I release these words now to do their good and perfect work, knowing they cannot and will not return to me void, for a deeper understanding of the truth that lives in all of us, and which we live, and I am grateful. And we take a deep breath in, affirming the gratitude of the information we received today, knowing that it is permeating through all our consciousness, becoming one with our subconscious, and all that is filtered through divine mind will filter through these principles and allow us to live an abundant life. And again, we are so grateful. And we affirm this as we let it be, with an Ashe, so mote be, and Amen. And as always, I am grateful for you, and I love you, nothing you can do about it. And we will definitely see you next Thursday with a new contemplation period. Namaste.